Well guys, the time has finally come. I have finally built the freaking PC and I'm back to where I belong, making videos, being on the internet and all that other stuff. And this video is actually going to be about me and my experience with building and wanting this PC. Now, if you guys actually want to watch the video where I actually build the PC, you can just click the link description down below and all that stuff will be there, end screen and all that other stuff. This video is actually not going to be me building it, but it's going to be me talking about why I built it and my experiences, and like the benchmarks of course will come later in the video, and how my experience has actually honestly just been in general. Now for this video I actually kind of have to really go back in time for this, because this PC build is something that has been on my mind for like years, like ever since I was like 11 years old. And yes, it literally goes back that long, right back around the time of 2011, right when Sonic Generations came out. Like, of course, you guys already know I'm a massive Sonic fan, so of course this was the 20th anniversary game of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it was an absolutely beautiful game. I was supposed to get the PlayStation 3 version that year. Actually, I was supposed to get my first PlayStation 3 in 2011 Christmas, and I was actually supposed to get Sonic Generations with it as well. Now I wouldn't get that until Christmas, but before the game came out, which was like, well, before Christmas, which like was back in November, I had seen gameplay of the game, and honestly it looked like, you know, Sonic Unleashed, which was the other Xbox 360 / PlayStation 3 title. You know, it was also on the Wii and PlayStation 2, but also the game on the Xbox 360 of Sonic Unleashed, it looked amazing. Sonic Generations also looked amazing. What I didn't know though was the PC version. At the time I had just met one of my longtime friends, and they actually showed me how Sonic Generations actually looked on PC via a live stream. And I remember looking at Sonic Generations and just being like, holy freaking crap, this game looks freaking absolutely crazy. Like, it's crazy because it ran at 60 FPS. It looked freaking phenomenal somehow compared to the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions. And it ran great, and it was awesome, and it just so much clarity. And I was like, hold on, I thought that PCs were only good for like really just like flash games or like really old games that aren't anywhere near the quality of the PlayStation 3 / Xbox 360. That's honestly like the mindset I had actually for a long time at that point when it came to like PC gaming. Of course now I know better, because, you know, stuff like Doom, Wolfenstein, and all these other games existed on the PC. But at the same time, I didn't know these things. I didn't know at the time that console gaming was honestly just another realm of the gaming space. So of course around that Christmas I actually wanted to get myself my first laptop. I ended up getting a Veil laptop which had like Windows 7 on it. Don't ask me exactly what specific laptop it was. If I can find it, I'll put it in the screen or whatever. But that was my first laptop, and it ran Windows 7. Now the only reason why I got that laptop was honestly because of the fact that I actually probably told my parents and stuff like that. I just wanted something online, because if you were looking for a gaming PC, I was actually looking for it, and my friend was saying, oh, they got this thing like pre-built. Obviously I didn't know what that really meant, but I was like, oh, let me look for that PC myself. Like, let me actually get one like that. And of course it was like all that stuff was like online at the time. Like PC gaming, I do not believe was even like advertised. Like, it's advertised now in like retail stores, but back then I don't think it really was at all. So I was over here trying to like buy something online. My parents didn't want to give me anything online, so I went on ahead and I went to Walmart, or we went to Walmart, or it was Kmart I think at the time, and I got that Veil laptop. And for years I actually did not have a dedicated like actual gaming like laptop or desktop or anything like that. I actually never even had like a desktop. And just to be frank, the first laptop I actually had didn't actually really run Sonic Generations that well. I mean, if it was at low settings and I was playing like a really simple mod or something, it would be fine, but it would lag unrelentlessly. It was ridiculous. But that was my first actual like jump into the gaming like PC side of things, because again, I thought like PCs were just good for like flash games and stuff like that. And for years I would bounce between laptops after that with varying levels of performance. I actually spilled apple juice on my first laptop, and then I got this laptop that I thought was better than the last one because it was $300, which was $200 less than the first laptop I had, and it was blue. And it ended up being even worse than the first one, you know, and we couldn't even take it back or anything, or I didn't really think about that. And I actually had the concept of $1, so I didn't want to inconvenience anyone, of course, because of what was going on with me. But the point of the matter is that I really got into PC gaming after that. It wasn't until 2016, honestly, until I got something actually pretty decent. Like, actually, my HP Pavilion, which I got right back in late 2014, was actually pretty decent, and I could actually run Sonic Generations kind of well on it. But you know, stuff like GTA 4 had to lower it, like had to actually, you know, run it at low settings and all this other stuff, and I was just struggling until 2016 where I got my Acer laptop. And that's actually the laptop that a lot of videos on this very channel were actually made on. I can't actually, you know, thank that laptop enough for that. But you see, the pattern here was that I was buying a lot of laptops that, you know, I couldn't buy like any desktop, or I couldn't build anything because honestly I was intimidated by building the idea of building a computer was really intimidating to me for a lot of the years, honestly. And I honestly thought that pre-built was like okay, but even then I actually like there was a thing at the time where they said, oh, if you get a pre-built, it would actually have less performance than if you actually built it yourself. Now, that's probably not true anymore. I'm pretty sure if you get a pre-built now, it's still the same kind of performance or whatever, but you know, who knows, maybe cyber power is gonna like mess you up or something like that. But the point is that I was intimidated by that. But by the time I got the Acer, I'd actually had finally gotten a dedicated entry-level gaming laptop, because I don't really know if it was like a real gaming laptop. I just know it was like about $550. It was actually just a little bit more expensive than the first laptop, but that was like the real thing. I remember before I wouldn't even play games that much on PC. Like if I was playing a game, I would download like 100% save file and then just leave it at that. Recently, I actually have had my most amazing laptop, which was my Lenovo Legion 5 Pro. This was my laptop ever since late 2021, where I had gotten it around like my birthday of that year, and I've had it ever since, and until April of 2025, which is earlier this year. Like this was literally like 7 or so months ago. And honestly, I love this laptop. Like it was great. Like it had a 3050 Ti, it had a Ryzen 7 5800H 9X because it was a laptop, and also that goes for the same thing for the 3050 Ti. But it was amazing. It was the best laptop I've ever had, and it was even blue. I love that thing, I really did. But unfortunately, one night I realized that my A key was actually not registering as much. So I decided to actually go inside of the thing to try to, like, I don't know, reseat the cables or try to fix something. I was trying to find some type of tutorial for that. And obviously this is a problem with laptops, because if one thing goes wrong with a laptop, right, there a couple other things could be wrong with it, right? So if you get like apple juice on your keyboard, right, you're not just getting apple juice on the keyboard, you're also getting it on the motherboard. You're also probably getting on the SSD, the RAM, crazily enough, maybe even the freaking monitor cables. You know, I don't freaking know. But that's the problem of gaming laptops. And honestly, I think gaming laptops, they have their place. And you know those people who like just recently find out about like, oh man, you have to actually have this thing plugged in all the time in order for it to not be bad in terms of, you know, the power that it has. And yes, it's definitely the case with these laptops. I don't really recommend getting one if you want to be kind of serious with it, or like maybe if you wanted to be mobile, because that was like my main thing about having a laptop. I wanted to play my games and be able to go anywhere I wanted. I wanted to actually bring my files and everything with me, which is helpful, I will say that. But at the same time, nowadays, you can remotely control your desktop with like your phone or something like that. You could just have a simple laptop that doesn't cost so much freaking money, to the point where like it just makes it like just having a laptop in general. And honestly, yeah, that was another one of my main motivations for actually building it. But needless to say, when I actually tried to go inside of my laptop to fix it, it didn't ever come back on. I don't know what it was. I think it was a static electricity thing, because my feet were on the carpet. I was on my desk, but my feet were on the tar carpet. Maybe I was generating too much static electricity or something. All I know was that whenever I plugged the thing in, I was turning it on. For some reason, a very, very low, like clicking noise was coming from my computer for some reason. So I just thought it was dead, because at that point, I was like thinking to myself, man, if this laptop is now dead now, it probably would cost a lot of money to actually fix it. That's another thing. If you want to fix a laptop yourself, it costs way too freaking much money, right? Like if my keyboard right here, you can't see it, but like if my keyboard right here goes bad or whatever, you know how much it actually takes to fix? Well, for me, my keyboard was like 95 bucks. But that's basically how much it would cost to get another one, because there's nothing else wrong. Like the PC is fine and everything like that. But with the laptop, you have to replace basically almost the whole thing in a lot of cases. Not all the time, but in most cases, yes. So I don't think they're that reliable. And in this case, I was like, yeah, I'm finally done with this. I want to finally get my new PC, and I also just wanted something more powerful, because for the first time, I actually had a reason. My videos are not the most technologically advanced things to make, sometimes, most of the time. Recently, one of my videos, which was the Sonic Unleashed recompiled video, which was the last video I made on my laptop, by the way, I had made that video, and during that video's production, my laptop was lagging in Vegas a lot. Like I wasn't having too good of a time rendering and editing that video. And honestly, I was tired of trying to go through this stuff again. I didn't want any lesser performance than that I actually deserved, right? I think for that laptop, I was still technically in an entry level territory. I at least wanted to be in the mid tier. My goals for a new PC were to make video content smoothly. I wanted to play games. I wanted to play Flash games. I even wanted to maybe getting into like modeling. I wanted to do everything with this computer, but maybe it doesn't have to be that, you know, expensive. So let's do this. And this is around the time where I actually, you know, recently had just dropped out of school. That's another video for another day. That was a really crazy time. In fact, I did that after, I actually did that before I started building this. So of course I was determined, and I was so determined that I actually decided to get a couple of jobs in order to actually fund this thing. But before I even did that, I actually had to figure out what parts I actually wanted for this computer, and that's actually what I'm going to go over now. First of all, I wanted to figure out what CPU I wanted to get. And again, I should mention this video is actually not scripted. I do have like my parts listed here, but I'm just talking from the cuff of my actual mouth. So of course, if I get some things wrong about what I'm about to say, then I kind of don't care. The first thing I actually wanted to get was the brain of the PC, which was the CPU. And I went for an Intel one. I went for Intel for the productivity, the updates, and the drivers and all that stuff, and the versatility. I do like AMD. Like my last two laptops had Ryzen CPUs in them. But from my understanding, Ryzen CPUs are the ones that are usually recommended for like gaming, like 7800 X3Ds or 9800, all that other stuff. Those are more suited for gaming, because when it comes to productivity and all that stuff, Intel, as everyone actually probably knows, actually does run out. It's definitely better when in terms of Intel side. Now, I know there's a thing going on right now where people don't like Intel because of X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, I looked through everything. I tried to figure out, hey, is this really a good investment? Will my PC blow up because I get an Intel? And a lot of sources actually told me, no, if you do actually want to do more than just gaming, then Intel is definitely the way to go. Especially considering the fact that the one that I got, which was the i7-14700K, I'm pretty sure it has 20 cores and 28 threads. It does have a lot more threads and cores, and that makes it so that it's better for, again, like other things more than just gaming. Now, maybe in a lot of different cases, the Ryzen CPUs would probably be better for gaming because of their 3D V cache, but from my understanding, it's next to negligible in terms of performance. I mean, it's really not going to kill you. And a lot of people like to actually say that the AMD CPUs are less power hungry, and that would make sense considering the fact that they have less cores and threads than the Intel side. If Ryzen CPUs had more cores and threads as Intel does, isn't it possible to know that there probably would be more power draw with those CPUs if they had that? I'm just saying, I think that Intel cores, I'm not trying to hate on AMD at all. I actually really do like it. And I actually did consider AMD for the graphics card, but that's another story. We'll get that to there in a second. But at the same time, I just understood that Intel was just the way to go. So I went for an i7-14700K. I wanted the integrated graphics just in case, like maybe one day I had to take out my GPU and I couldn't really use my graphics card. I like to have my cake and eat it too, basically, which is a very strong indicator on how I wanted to actually approach this build. I also went with an air cooler instead of a water cooler because of the fact that for one thing, I'm definitely scared of liquid being on my components that I paid money for. I know that probably nowadays, you know, this is not like a problem. Like, yeah, like at this point, no one has like freaking accidents where the liquid gets all over the freaking components and their computer is like dead, fried, and gone and stuff like that. But I didn't want to take that risk because back in the day, there actually kind of was like actually a thing where people's computers would literally, like, I don't know, something would happen with like the cooling or whatever, and their freaking computers would get like splashed with the liquid that is all over the freaking that comes from the water cooler. And from also the research that I did, which I did lots of research for this, like I made playlists, I made like, you know, PC part lists, and I even did like my own notes and like research for this. I did not want to go with any stone unturned. So I did everything I could to actually make sure that this actually even did work or was compatible. I learned all about CPU bottlenecking, and I understood about how to, you know, understand like what is compatible with what. It was crazy. And in my research, I realized that air coolers and water coolers, you know, they're actually not that different in terms of like the performance and the cooling, like not the good ones anyway. Like for my money, I actually got my air cooler for about $35. And it cools my i7-14700K just fine. Like even if I got like a water cooler, there wouldn't be that much of a difference, which is the reason why, like I just said to myself, hey, you know, AIOs are usually a little bit more money anyway, so I decided to go with an air cooler. And honestly, looking back at it, I understand maybe why people do that, because when I look at an AIO versus a water cooler or an air cooler, it actually kind of does look a little bit more presentable. AIO does, because like honestly, as you can see in this image, yeah, it does look a little funky, but at the same time, I thought this was just better for the performance, the price, and the convenience, and I didn't feel the need to get an AIO, especially considering the fact that, you know, that radiator install, and I didn't really want to do all that. So yeah, I went with that. Of course, I actually went absolutely insane for the storage. I got myself a Samsung Evo Plus 2TB SSD for the main Windows drive, and for the game drive, I went with the same brand and everything like that, but I went with the 4TB version. I wanted to actually go insane. So yes, 6 terabytes of storage just for this build. Again, I'm a content creator, so of course this just makes sense for me. Until I realized, oh wait, I could probably put my old SSDs from my laptop into this computer, which I had about 512 gigabytes for the Windows drive, and then I also had a 1TB SSD for like games and stuff. So in total, I could put about 7.5 terabytes of storage on this thing, and I thought that was absolutely insane, because it was. So because of all that, I also went for the nervous system of the PC, probably what I would actually consider the most important part of a computer, which is the motherboard, which I went with an Asus ROG Strix Gaming Wi-Fi 2 Z790 motherboard, Gaming Wi-Fi 2, whatever. There's a lot of names. Gosh, freaking, I hated these names. I swear to freak when I was building this. I went with this motherboard because, hey, it had DDR5, which is a new thing, and it's getting a lot more popular and more standard now for computers, especially if you're doing stuff like what I'm doing. And it had 5 M.2 slots, which is crazy, or NVMe's, or whatever you want to call them. It also had a capacity for 128 gigabytes of RAM. Don't need all of that, because yeah, I'll get to the RAM in a second. But I decided to get that one also because it did also look nice. You know, I'm not gonna lie, it did look really nice. It was compatible with everything that I actually was having in my freaking system, and I thought it was actually cool. And also it did have Wi-Fi 7 support, which is, you know, the newest, fastest Wi-Fi right now. So I decided to go with that. And yeah, I mean, some people I think would probably call the Z790 like a little bit too much. I should probably also get into the prices of the components. Obviously the CPU actually was one of the last things I actually bought, and that was about $300. I've heard some places it's a lot more, but I got it for $300. I got the air cooler, like I said, for about $36, and the motherboard itself I actually got for about $350 or $370. I forgot how much it was, but it wasn't that much. I actually seen that motherboard for like $450, $500. I don't think it's that worth that much. And especially it makes me mad when I see other motherboards that are more AMD focused, like the B790 or something. I think that one is like $200, $100 something dollars. But I thought this was actually worth it, considering, again, 5 M.2 slots, Wi-Fi 7, DDR5 support. I thought it was worth it, and actually looking at some other motherboards, it definitely was around that price range anyway. I didn't also see the need to really upgrade the amount of RAM that I had from my last computer, which I had 32 gigabytes of RAM on that computer, honestly. So I decided to say, hey, why not just get more RAM, basically the same amount of RAM that I had on there with my computer. I didn't really see the need to get 64. I think I might get some more later down the road, but that might come with a couple of issues, honestly, later down the road. But the point is, I went with 32 gigabytes of RAM, and it was DDR5, and I got 6400 megahertz, which was pretty fast. And I understand that this is crazy. First of all, I want to say right now, I got my RAM all the way back in about like April. So I didn't actually take that long to get the first couple of parts. So I was good on the RAM. I understand completely that RAM prices right now are completely messed up. They are terrible. If I got this same amount of RAM right now, for some reason, it would cost about $400. I do not understand. I mean, I understand it's because of the fact that tech centers and companies are buying a whole lot of RAM for like AI and stuff like that, and that's basically making the freaking prices go up like crazy, which is ridiculously bullshit. But at the same time, I was lucky enough to actually have bought the RAM earlier this year, so I was good on that. And also, that should be a real testament to, not a testament, but that should be like foreshadowing for things to come. And by the way, also it costed about $95. I don't know if I said that already, but it cost about $95. It was pretty simple, honestly. And also it had RGB, so that was nice. For the case, I just wanted something that was cool looking, because I know some people don't really care for the appearance of certain little things like this, but I actually wanted my PC to actually look kind of cool. Originally, I actually wanted a 2015 styled gaming case, because honestly, I don't really like fish tank cases, which are basically the type of cases that basically like everybody has nowadays, like where you can like basically like see all the components and all that stuff. I didn't want that. I just honestly thought that was pretty cheesy. I don't really see a reason to look at your components all the time. I mean, it's like looking at someone's guts all the time. I don't really see the reason why I need to see someone's freaking rib cage all the time. I don't really see the need to see someone's pancreas or their balls actually literally hanging out and in my face, just raw and uncut. So I didn't do that. I didn't want that, but I eventually stopped going for the gaming case from 2015, only because of the fact that I just wanted this PC to be versatile. I wanted it to be easy to install. I didn't want it to be complicated, and I really just did not feel like sawing anything or making a lot of that room, because I don't do that stuff. And even though I probably could, I don't feel like doing that. I just felt like, honestly, the idea also was just to get myself back on the map, because I really just needed a computer at this point. I was using my laptop at the time, which was like a 2015 Mac, freaking book that just came from like 2015, and it was bad, and it had and you couldn't update a lot of the things and stuff on it. It was pretty struggle heavy. Luckily, I found the Montek King 95 Pro. This is one of the best cases I have ever seen in my life. First of all, it was blue, which I don't know if you guys noticed, but blue is my favorite color, so it was blue. But also, it was a really, really good freaking case. First of all, a lot of the parts and the panels on it are actually easy to screw off. And also, it's actually a dual chamber case. So a lot of the wiring, which usually comes from the PSU, it seems actually, can actually be done in the back, and you don't have to actually look at the absolute abomination that you actually might make. And I definitely did make an abomination. But the point of the matter is that this is a really nice looking case, and also comes with so many fans for, you know, cooling your computer, and also it has a mesh frame. And also, yeah, I actually put the mesh frame on my case because I don't see the reason why I want to see more of my PC. Like I said, I'm not really into that, so I decided to put the mesh on, and that's more airflow. There's so much air going inside this case going out. It is so great. I am going to have a really good time probably, you know, just cleaning it out whenever it really needs to. Like, I'm definitely going to clean out this thing. That's another thing, you should definitely clean your PCs. It will probably thank you in its binary way. But I was really looking forward to actually looking at this case. It also had USB-C on it, so you know, I just kind of like that. USB ports are plenty, nice texture for the case, easy to screw and modify. Big case in general. It was a great freaking idea. It was just so great. Honestly, this is probably the only PC fish case tank I actually really like. Like, it's literally that good. And honestly, this thing is huge. Like this case is actually really big to me. I was like always more used to like having our little PCs or mini cases from like back in like, you know, school and stuff like that. I wasn't used to having like this big spaceship for the freaking case. And this isn't even a full like size case. Like, this is an ATX case or whatever. What was actually kind of interesting though was how the motherboard actually fit into the case. I thought that the motherboard would have a lot of clearance after I installed it, but the freaking motherboard actually filled up a good chunk of the freaking case. I remember getting the motherboard and kind of being a little surprised on how big it actually was, but I thought the case was so big that I was like, oh well, it's probably just gonna give a lot of clearance there. But no, it actually fills up with the case very nicely. I think this case and this motherboard really do pair very nicely together, honestly. The case also costed about $170, by the way. Then I also had to get a keyboard. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I actually had to get a keyboard. I had to get a keyboard. I also already had a mouse, but I also decided to get another mouse, which I'll comment on in a minute. And actually, no, I'll just say that I just got a freaking HyperX wait, what is this thing? I got a Razer Ballist, whatever that name is, V3. Yeah, it was like a wired mouse. I do not trust wireless mouses because of latency. I know it's probably negligible nowadays, but I don't really care. I just wanted something that wasn't gonna lag at all. So I got that for my mouse, and this was about 30 bucks, nothing much. I mean, it's a mouse. I don't really think a mouse should really cost anything more than 50 bucks, but that's just me. But the HyperX Elite 2 was actually something that I was really excited for, because I never had a mechanical keyboard before, obviously, because laptops don't have mechanical keys in most cases. I'm pretty sure they don't. But I also wanted a mechanical keyboard that wasn't loud. Like, my senses are very sensitive to like little particular sounds. Like, I do not like it when people like walk and I can hear too much of like their footstep sounds, especially if it's like heels or certain type of shoes and stuff like that, and other sounds like that. I do not like little sounds like that, and keyboards absolutely drive me insane. I do not understand why some people legitimately like some keyboards that sound like they're freaking typing on ice or something. I don't understand how to freaking describe it, but I didn't want a keyboard like that. But I also found this YouTuber that had this keyboard that was really cool looking, and I really liked it. And that's when I found out about the HyperX Elite 2, which was really funny because I actually remember working at Best Buy, and I remember actually playing around with this keyboard when I worked there, and I actually really did like it. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this keyboard when I get a PC. Obviously, again, I forgot what the keyboard even was, But I guess it was fate, because I found this keyboard, and yes, it's from like 2020, so it's a little old, I guess, but I thought it was perfect. I wanted a full-size keyboard for editing, freaking gaming, everything, and I thought this was like a really good step up, and I just wanted to type on this thing. I love this keyboard. I know it's just a keyboard, it's not crazy or anything like that, but I just love it. I'm really surprised they haven't made an Elite 3 yet though. Finally was the GPU, the graphics card, the muscle of the computer. Now, honestly, I didn't want to go for anything that was that crazy. I mean, honestly, anything would have been a freaking upgrade from a laptop 3050 Ti, which is basically like a 1660, or some cases like a 20 something, I don't know. But it's not that powerful of a graphics card, although I was playing Marvel Rivals at some pretty decent settings. Nothing crazy, but at the same time, like, some games are just optimized a lot better for stuff like that. But anything would have been, honestly, an upgrade. At first, honestly, I'm gonna be real with you guys, I was a little shallow, so I just wanted to go with something with like a 7 in it. And I actually understood that once you cross from like something like a 4070 to like a 4080, you were getting into that enthusiast type of high-end territory. Like I said earlier, I wanted to go for something that was more mid-tier because I thought that was probably going to be enough for me and this build. So originally I wanted to get like a 4070 because at the time the 50 series actually literally just released. Like, this was, remember, I was thinking about all this back in like April. So I decided to go with a 4070 just because of the fact that it was the last generation, it was mid-tier, and I thought that, hey, this is probably not going to be all that much. But for some reason, I decided to say, but wait, I think maybe I should get a 4070 Ti at the very least, because I was like, I don't even know, like, I didn't even look at any freaking benchmarks at that point. I was just like, but like, what about the 4070 Ti? That sounds pretty good. But then, wait a minute, I want the 4070 Ti Super. I don't know what was going on. I think it was just the fact that it had the Super in the name, but that's actually what I wanted. I thought that would probably be the best mid-tier kind of system, and I actually looked it up, and I'm pretty sure at the time I thought it was mid-tier. It might be teetering on the edge of high tier. But of course, this was actually the moment where I realized apparently NVIDIA actually discontinued the 40 series of GPUs. So that meant that if I was going to actually buy a 4070 Ti, it would be around $800 to like $900. I've seen in a couple of places. Of course, because of the fact that they were actually discontinuing the GPU and now people were just reselling them or just had extra stock or whatever, they were kind of just like actually selling it for like these crazy prices. And so I was really looking on the fence for that, because I was like on the fence because I couldn't find a decently priced 4070 Ti really anywhere. And that's when the 5070 Ti came in there. Because when I actually did the math, or really I just looked at some retail sites or whatever, I realized that if I was gonna pay basically like $800, I would have just went and just got a 5070 Ti and just kept it like that. I know it was a new card, but at the time, the prices were actually looking basically the same in between the two. So I was like, you know what? Who cares? I'm gonna get a 5070 Ti. And at that point, that was when my actual high tier PC build actually probably started. Maybe it probably was for the best, because maybe the 4070 and maybe even the 4070 Ti would have bottlenecked with the CPU. Or maybe that would have caused some type of bottleneck with the CPU being a lot more powerful than the GPU. I'm not really too sure. But honestly, I went with that, and I think that was for the best, because the 5070 Ti is pretty decent. A more newer card with more AI features and stuff like that, like, I wasn't really looking like really forward to the fact that it could like fake frames and stuff like that. But I thought like maybe for the fact of the the world actually kind of going in a direction for AI and all this other stuff for like gaming and stuff like that, maybe just having that as like a backup and stuff like that would be great. And also, I actually did realize later on that it's actually good for like productivity and stuff like that compared to AMD. Now, actually, I do want to talk about the 9070 XT. That was actually a card that I was actually really considering on getting for this computer, because I actually had my friend Ren actually tell me about the 9070 XT, because we were just kind of comparing it. And the 9070 XT at the time was actually beating out the 5070 Ti because of a update. Like, literally, there was an update for this thing, and it was actually increasing the performance compared to what it was before. So much so that it was actually beating out the 5070 Ti. So I was actually really looking forward to that one as well. Also because of the fact that it was about $150 cheaper, which is insane. But just like how it was with the CPU, I realized again that if you're gonna go for either graphics card for like productivity, you would probably be best going with NVIDIA. With AMD, they're not that good in terms of productivity. And also, like the features on the NVIDIA graphics card, it's just a lot better. It's just a lot more versatile. It's got more compatibility with stuff, and also they have just better support for all that stuff. It's not like the end of the world, I'm pretty sure. And AMD, like, I just want to say right now, I think AMD again is amazing. And I will say that if they did have stuff that I was looking for and it was at a better price, I definitely would just go for them. It's just a matter of which is better for me personally at this point in time. But from what I've seen, they're not better actually in terms of what I'm trying to do. Maybe for the most normal people, like, again, if you're building a gaming PC, get a 9070 XT, get a freaking a 7800X 3D. Honestly, do it if you're just going for gaming. But if you want to do more than just gaming, and if you're kind of trying to get serious about it, then go on ahead and just get NVIDIA, just get Intel, honestly. But you don't even have to do that. It also depends on like your workload and what you need. And honestly, this was just what I thought was actually best for me. So I don't want anyone coming in the comments talking about, well, actually, dude, this is not better than this other thing. I was looking at what I thought was the best thing for me. And from the performance of my PC now, I think I chose right. And the last thing was the monitor, which was not the last thing I actually got, but it's the last thing I'm talking about. I decided to go for the M27XQX, whatever it was. I decided to go for this monitor because I decided to say, hey, look, I don't really care too much about 4K gaming. I don't think it's really worth it unless like you're really close to like the monitor, or if you have like a TV. And because I've seen, like, another thing I really have to complain about in terms of like PC gaming is just the performance of stuff like the 5080 and the 5090. When it comes to the more enthusiast level of graphics cards for these series, I don't really believe it's actually worth it, because I have seen like Cyberpunk 5090 wise, and I'm gonna be honest, for the price that you pay for that card, which is like $3,000, I've seen it. I actually saw a 5090 in the store when I actually went and bought like all of the rest of my PC parts, and I saw one for like $3,500. Dude, I could put down a good car payment with that kind of money. I could buy a car with that kind of money. Honestly, a really cheap car, a really nice car that will probably actually serve me well. I could buy something like that with that money. I wouldn't pay that with a graphics card, especially with the performance I saw. Like, I don't know, when it comes to those kinds of prices, the performance I'm thinking of when it comes to something like, I don't know, Cyberpunk is like 200 FPS. I'm not even with DLSS. Like, I'm not even like, no, not even 200, like 300 FPS. I'm not talking about with DLSS. I'm not talking about with any type of lower settings. No, I'm talking the ultra settings, the highest settings, the max settings that you can actually put in that game. I'm talking that with no frame generation or anything like that, 300 FPS. That was the type of stuff I was actually kind of expecting with something like a 5090. But no, you're not getting that type of frames. I mean, you're just not. I mean, if you want that, then you can do frame generation, but that's stupid to me. So I didn't really want to go for something that high, and I also didn't want to go for something that high just for like the monitor, because if I wanted to get like a 4K monitor, then I would have to understand that, okay, I should be getting something like a 5080 or 5090. but I didn't see the reason because personally I don't feel like it's that good of value. So that's just where I come in. If you got a 5090 or 5080, I'm not really ragging on anyone for this, and I just want to say I'm not ragging on anyone for any other like PC part that they might have actually got that was actually different or more advanced than mine. I'm just saying for me personally, I did not believe that that was actually worth it. So I went with a 1440p monitor, 240 hertz you monitor, whatever you want to say, 1 millisecond response time, and it was just amazing. Like honestly, also this monitor has internal speakers, and I understand, don't get a monitor that has internal speakers, it is shite. But honestly, I I did not really care. Like honestly, I come from a time where like monitors had speakers on them, and then you didn't have to have speakers. You didn't have to like buy separate speakers. I didn't really want to do that. And honestly also knew that most of the time I would, if I was like gaming or if I was editing or something like that, I would just have my earbuds or like my headphones in or something like that. So I didn't really care too much about the speakers. And honestly, I honestly think that the speakers themselves are actually very serviceable. I could definitely see like if you were an audio engineer, you were making music, don't use like built-in speakers from a monitor, but I thought it was actually okay. And so I finally went on my road of actually building this PC and like getting all the parts and stuff like that. So of course, like I said at the time, I actually didn't really have a job at this time. I just was just saying to myself, hey, I got to start building this thing and fast. So at first I actually did try to get a job. I was actually working at a delivery job, and I'm not going to actually mention the company, I was just about to, but I was working at this delivery job and I was delivering packages. And I'm just going to tell you guys right now, again, I don't want to make excuses, but I have autism and I have ADHD. And like I said, you guys probably should have understood that when I said I had sensory problems. But you guys might have skipped through this video also because, you know, you can skip through this video to see all that stuff. But I have a lot of those problems and I can't really deal with, you know, basically dealing with like certain things over and over again. So when I was doing this delivery job, I was honestly miserable. Like I was doing it and I was delivering packages and I wasn't feeling good. Like I was feeling almost sick to my stomach doing this job. And also I was running out of my medicine for my, you know, my condition and all that stuff. And that's another thing, that's another video. I was actually about to run out of my medicine and I actually have not been medicated for a little bit. So I was kind of going up against a whole bunch of cylinders over here. So I ended up getting a good couple of parts when I was actually still at that job. But as soon as I got like my RAM and I had like a mental breakdown when I was actually doing one of my deliveries, I went and I just quit that job. I couldn't deal with it. It was too much. I know like maybe some people might just be looking like, well, what the frick is wrong with you? Freaking delivery is freaking easy, dude. Again, my perspective, you have to understand people are different from one another. I'm different from you. I couldn't deal with the delivery stuff. I literally had a mental breakdown. I had to quit. So I decided to do other types of food deliveries. You guys can probably understand like what I'm talking about. I don't want to mention the companies, but I was actually starting to do food deliveries. Basically, the day that I quit that job, I actually decided to do the food delivery stuff. And this guy got into like, he basically backed into my car and then like he like busted out one of my lights. I told this guy, hey, you're gonna have to pay for this damage. And this guy was like, I don't think this guy like really was supposed to be here. I'll just say that. I'm not gonna put his information out there, all that stuff. But he gave me money for the damages and I used that money for the damages for the motherboard. And I did that because, hey, you know, the damage actually wasn't that bad because like the light still worked, you know, and it was just the guard for the light that was off. I was thugging it. Like I wasn't really too concerned about how I was going to get this PC. I was really concerned about getting the PC at all. So I used that little money to get the motherboard and I decided to start hustling for the other parts. And actually that's where the monitor came in, and I actually got the monitor for a pretty decent price too, because I actually didn't mention it, but the monitor itself was about 280 bucks. The monitor itself is supposed to be about for $500 actually. But again, I was getting stuff at a deal. And that's another thing. The actual CPU, like even the SSD, right? The SSD I got for about $250. It is like the 4 TB one. That's supposed to be about $300, close to maybe $400, I think. But I got it again for like $250, and I even got the SSD 2 TB SSD for a little bit less too. And even the 5070 Ti, I got that for about $728 or $729. And again, like, I felt like the pieces in this build that I got, the way that I built this PC, it was like I was being helped out, you know? The Most High, I think he was honestly looking at me and just trying to help me out during the building of this computer, but I'll mention that later in this video. But the point of the matter is that I was able to get most of my parts, and unfortunately, another tragedy struck. I'm not gonna mention all this, but eventually, my whole family, we had to move, and that was a big like change. I also just could not work in the same place anymore, so I had to move, and that came with financial incentives and all this other stuff, and a lot of bad stuff to happen. So I couldn't, you know, do my food deliveries anymore. I was out of town and all this other stuff. So that was a big road. Like for months, honestly, after that, I didn't get any PC parts at all. In fact, I only had 4 PC parts to get for like a good couple of months after that, unfortunately. And I couldn't do anything, but I did just decide to get like another job. And I actually decided to do like I decided to actually work in like a factory at one point. And that was terrible because they didn't allow me to like listen to my music, and again, sensory problems. I couldn't listen to the warehouse stuff. I had worked at warehousing a lot of the times in the past. I decided to go back to the food deliveries after that, and it was just a lot. It was just so much. Just for some more context, I've had over 20 occupations since I was like 17, about 7 years ago. And yeah, I've had that many, including everything I have done to like potentially make money, or I have made money. I've had over 20. Now, my job and financial situation has always been less than ideal because of, like I said, my ADHD, autism, chronic depression, and existential crisis and stuff. But I would proceed to just get multiple jobs just to fund this PC during this entire build. I just was really determined to do this. Like I said, I did delivery, self-food delivery, warehousing. I even went into work at a gas station just for this. Eventually, I settled on this job at like a fast food restaurant that I'm actually, you know, at still right now to this day, probably not for too long. But yeah, I decided to do that just to fund the money for this build. Now, you might be asking to yourself, why did I do all this for one sweaty, slimy, stinky Dorito Crumb Factory machine? Well, first of all, I learned through all of this that I'm actually a really pretty determined individual. I went through a bunch of problems while building this PC, like I said. I mean, my neck had a muscle spasm so that I couldn't even I couldn't even move for a couple of days. I had to move out on my own, like I said before, where, you know, with my family as well. My window actually got smashed out by my car by some random asshole. My tire blew out. I got into a car crash just 3 weeks ago. Like, not even like the car crash I just actually mentioned with my light. I got into a car crash about 3 weeks ago with some guy who literally just drove off, and I didn't see them. I literally did not see them, and I don't know. That actually could have been like really, really bad. I didn't really mention it, but you know, bless my heart. But just like me continuing to make YouTube videos, training, looking for jobs, I just kept doing it because I couldn't stop, and I trusted that this was worth it, and this is what I needed to do. It also was going to make 11-year-old me very happy, of course. This PC build was very special to me, so I did everything I could to make it. I was seriously determined. Like last year, I realized that I was finally able to love myself. This year seemed to be about more so like testing that notion, how much I actually wanted to love myself and how far I wanted to go to actually do what I wanted. And it's not just for this PC, it's for making videos and training and everything else that I actually like to do in my life. Like, no one really cared about this PC. Like, I'm getting a lot of praise now for the fact that I actually even built this thing. But before I even built it, no one was really caring. Like, no one really cared about me building this computer at all. And I was the main person actually advocating for this. No one was really understanding. And so I really wanted to do this just because of the fact I felt like I deserved it. The dream PC was just on the grasp. And I know it's just a computer, but this was a computer where I could, actually, I could exercise my artistic liberties and stuff like that. I could make videos. I could maybe even do 3D modeling. I could apply for jobs. I could even maybe get like a remote job or something like that. Something that I've been looking for such a long time. I could actually do like schoolwork if I wanted to go back or something. Like, I felt like this was something I really deserved, and I felt like it was just made so much more sense. And I just felt like I needed to do this for me, and I was super determined to make all of this happen, and I didn't want anything getting in my way. So yeah. Now, I just want to say, okay, with taxes and all that stuff actually included, with all the deals I had, this entire build costed $2,830.05. That's how much this actual entire PC build actually costed. Maybe give or take a couple of cents. But the point of the matter is, it costed a lot of money. Now, what's really good though is that it didn't cost me all that just like straight, like just at once, because that would have been like a bad financial investment. But of course, like I said, I bought this in increments. I didn't buy everything at once. I thought this was honestly a pretty okay price for what I got for it in general, if I built it the way I did. And like I said, I actually took advantage of deals and stuff like that. So I don't really think that was a bad thing. I don't know why some people just aren't into like revealing how much some of their stuff are. Like, I don't really mind, saying stuff like that. But yes, that's actually how much this entire build cost. And I really was just like slaving away. Like, there was a lot of times where like my money was just basically just being yanked away from me and stuff like that. Like, there were some people just asking me like, man, when are you actually gonna build this PC? And I just kept telling everybody like, yeah, I'm gonna build it. I'm definitely gonna build it. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna build it, guys. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there in like 7 months, but I'm definitely gonna build it. You gotta wait. For the love of God! For the love of God! Please! Damn! Damn! It was a long and treacherous battle, but then I actually was able to get everything situated. Now, I'm not going to really talk too much about the build process. Like, that's just its own like kind of thing, honestly. Like I said, I have a video about me actually building the thing in general, but honestly, building the thing wasn't that bad. Although it did take about like what was it, like 8 hours? I'm not too sure. Like, again, this is like my first PC build, so I'm not sure how like really good that is, but it took me about 8 hours. I was taking breaks in between me doing certain things. Like, I was like, after I would install like the CPU and then the heats and the cooler and stuff like that, I would take a break after I put the motherboard into the PC and stuff like that. Honestly, I don't really believe it was that bad. Like, I don't think it's like for everybody, because definitely it will maybe drive you insane. Again, it took me like 8 hours. That's like a full school/work day. But I think it's just because of how slow I was doing it and how particular I was doing it, because like I said before, with the laptop, I thought I like kind of damaged it with like static electricity or something, and that was the reason why it actually stopped working. So I was really kind of weird about just touching the thing in general. So I was doing it slowly. I was kind of just laying out everything. I made sure to have like a box to set my PC stuff on. Like, I had a box, like my monitor, and I put a box on top of that box, which was the motherboard box, and then I had the motherboard on top of the box. So the motherboard was sitting on a box that was sitting on top of a box. So that was a lot of boxes. Then I had to put that box that was like it was just a lot of stuff. With the static electricity thing, you know, of course I wasn't trying to be like super pretentious or anything like that, but I was trying to like at least touch my PC case every now and then. Now what I heard though is that you have to have the PSU plugged into the wall, switched off, but still like actually touching the PC case for this method to actually work, for you to, you know, get rid of the static electricity, for you to like be able to touch it every so often. But I did not have that luxury. I wanted to put the PSU inside of the case when everything else was basically ready to get inside of it. So I decided to wait for that to happen, but I was still trying to touch things in the house that was like just off and was just sitting there. I think I was trying to I think I was trying to touch something like in the kitchen. I honestly stopped doing that after a while because it was just a lot to be doing. So I just started touching my case every so often. Installing the CPU is really nerve-wracking because you have to like be very still, because I did not want to grind any of the pins because those pins are very sensitive to damage. That would have been a lot of money to replace. I did not want to damage anything. Popping in that CPU is really simple and easy though. I popped it in, snapped the thing, and I kept the CPU, the thing that pops off of the case or whatever, I kept that in there. That was really simple. Installing the cooler though was a different story, because the cooler itself actually had to sit on top of the CPU with like the heatsink and all that stuff. And that was a bit of a challenge. Now, installing the heatsink wasn't actually that bad. I mean, I just like screw it in there. I was thinking I was grinding it up on the CPU, and I thought that was like gonna affect it, but I don't think I did. I actually think I did pretty good on that front. But installing the fans on top of the heatsink was a different story, because I had to basically get it so that I was getting some air going through the fans to go from the to like the CPU. And it was a weird like kind of thing that I was setting up, because I was kind of following diagrams. Of course, when I was doing this, I was, you know, looking at my playlist and my notes and all that stuff, and I had to basically like daisy chain a whole lot of like tutorials and stuff together. It was kind of wild, honestly. But I waited to actually install the fans until like after I installed like the SSDs and the actual RAM. Now the RAM was actually another thing that I was actually kind of worried about, because I know that when you install the RAM, you're supposed to hear like a click or something like that. I wasn't really hearing the click though. I was kind of hearing something, but I wasn't really like, it wasn't like snapping like that, but it wasn't as like snappy as I thought it was. Like, is this a good snap, or is this snap not as good as the snap that I should be hearing? Huh? It was wild. But what I realized after I put in the actual like RAM was that, oh wow, hold up, this heatsink that I have to put on top of this CPU, it's going to be with the fans, and the fans are going to be either on top of the IO or it's going to be on top of the RAM sticks. This is a weird way that I had to kind of like figure out what I was going to do. I decided to put another one of them on top of the actual RAM sticks, which is the reason why I believe that I might get some more RAM later down the road, just because. But at the same time, I'm going to be really like kind of weird about actually getting in some more RAM, because I don't know if I really want to go behind the heatsink again. Of course, when I installed the motherboard, the RAM, I did it in slots 2 and 4. I didn't do 1 and 2. Don't do that. Do 2 and 4, or do like, yeah, 2 and 4. Is it like 1 and 3 or something? You can do something like that, but I did 2 and 4. And I was really worried about me putting a fan from the heatsink on top of the RAM, but honestly, it was nothing. The only thing about it is that you can't see the RGB on top of the RAM that much anymore, because they are RGB sticks. You can take off the RGB thing on top of it, but I didn't want to. I also didn't want to turn it off. Like, I just didn't see a need to do that, even though like right now my PC is dark. There's no light coming from it actually right now, which is funny, because it's like okay, I didn't want to do that, but like I also didn't want to have my PC lights on all the time. Putting the motherboard inside of the case was pretty simple, honestly. I thought I lost one of the screws, but I didn't actually. I was able to recover them. I really keep track of your screws, guys, when it comes to all this stuff, because a lot of this stuff can be lost. But I was able to screw in the motherboard to the case, and it was just working just fine. After doing that, I decided to get all the PSU cables, and I originally thought that I had to have all of the PSU cables. Like, I also, dang, I should mention, I guess this is how forgettable the PSU was. I got an 850 watt PSU, like it's an RM850X. It was about $170 actually, and it was just pretty simple. It had a whole bunch of cables, and it was definitely RTX 50 series ready. But originally, like I said, I thought I was actually supposed to have all of the PSU cables actually in the actual thing, but I actually was able to call my friend Ren. We were talking in Discord during like basically the end of the build. My friend Ren, he actually did help me with the last little bit of the case. Like, he wasn't physically there. I still had to do everything myself, but he did explain to me that I didn't need every single PSU cable. And I was basically doing way too much by installing basically all of them. So I only had to use about 4 of them. Now, this was honestly probably the most, like besides like the heat sink and the fan stuff with the cooler and stuff like that, I was honestly dreading the PSU side of the case of the build more, because things could potentially blow up if you actually fiddle with the cables wrong, or if you don't seat them well. Like, I really had to make sure that everything was securely fastened in the right components and the right pins or whatever. I had to really make sure, because I did not want anything to get fried or to cause like a fire or something like that. So with the PSU, I had to figure out where the frick these cables actually go into the motherboard. I know this part isn't really that interesting, but it's a part that seems to be kind of like passed up. Like whenever I see like a PC build on YouTube, they don't really talk about how you have to, stick in the certain cables into the motherboard and where they go and stuff like that. There are videos where that people do that, but it's not really that talked about because it's like one of the most boring parts. But I had to look up videos, I had to figure out what was going on, and I had to make sure that every single cable was fastened right. Of course, also with the GPU. Eventually, after I actually got the motherboard into the case and I got the PSU and I had everything kind of like there, I decided to put in the GPU. Once I heard that click, it was awesome. But I actually did realize, oh wait, I have to plug in the PSU cable. And this again was one of the most dreadful parts, because I had heard some stories that where people had like fires come from a GPU, like a 5080 or 5090, because they didn't fully seat in the cable from the PSU to the GPU. And I did not want that to happen. So I was really freaking crazy about, like, I was really particular about this. I also have a lot of strength, so I didn't want to break anything by accident. So I was like jamming it in there, trying to get it in there, and I didn't want to really break it. I legit thought I was breaking it at some points because I would like hear little sounds, but it was like really like looking back at it now, it's like nothing to worry about, because like everything was actually being securely like actually plugged in and everything like that. That was actually what was really going on. But I was really paranoid about this part. This was really the worst part about the build. Just for the nerve-wrackingness, like honestly, the worst part about this build for me was installing the fans for the heatsink, obviously, but the freaking most nerve-wracking part was just plugging in the PSU. And honestly, I was actually trying to do some cable management. I have some images of my attempt at cable management, but I don't think I really did that too much of a good job. Of course, there's something else that I actually do want to talk about later on, when actually I tried to turn on this thing. Even though like I really liked everything to be clean, nice and tidy, I was really particular about this. I was, but like I also didn't want to break anything, so I kind of stuffed some things in there, tried to get some ties in there too. That's also something about this case too. It actually came with some zip ties for like the cables and stuff like that. It came with like these slots that you could slide the cables through for you to get to the motherboard and stuff like that, and it made everything just look so much more nice and tidy. So after I did that, it was actually finally time to to actually turn this thing on. And I actually failed to turn on this thing like 9 times, like no, 8 times actually. And the first time, you know, I actually did not have the thing actually turned on. I didn't have like the switch flipped. I flipped it on, and then like nothing really happened. I actually didn't have the front panel connector from the PSU plugged into the right place. Crazy. Like I actually legitimately just did not have it plugged in right, or not, it wasn't not enough. I don't really remember, but I didn't have it plugged in right. I also just straight up did not connect. Like I knew to connect the actual like display port into the HDMI, or not the HDMI, but the display port of the GPU. I actually do know about that, but I didn't have it connected to the PC. I didn't actually I didn't like go crazy for that. I just thought that was, I didn't see anything on the monitor, and I thought that was normal because none of the fans were coming on like the case. But I found this out and I was like, oh, I just had to plug this thing into the display, and I just didn't have it plugged into the PC. Eventually though, I did actually get it to cut on and actually show like the BIOS kind of menu, but I actually didn't see the fans from the case come on. And what I didn't realize was that I didn't have the SATA cables connected from my PSU into the case. And so I had to actually go back and I had to connect those. That part was really frustrating to me because I didn't understand why the freaking CPU, or not the CPU, but the case fans were just not working. I was literally looking over the freaking manual of my motherboard like so many times. I didn't understand why that was happening at all, but I eventually did realize, oh, you freaking idiot, you didn't have the freaking SATA cables connected to the freaking PSU in the first place, so they were never going to cut on. They were never going to turn on at all. But alas, after I figured that out, I finally turned this thing on, and oh my god, the room got so cold. I was like, what in the freak? It felt like a ghost girl had just freaking phased through me or something. Like it got so cold because like obviously I'm trying to keep this computer in like a cool environment and all that stuff, but it just like blew a lot of that air on me. I was like, what the frick is going on here, dude? What the frick? But yeah, I had finally turned on my PC for the first time, and I was so tired, so I didn't really, I wasn't really that excited about it, but I turned on the computer for the first time, and I was so happy. I actually really was. Then at that point, I decided to try to install Windows. Installing Windows because of the fact that, well, this is another part of the video, but I actually wanted to install Linux for this computer, but I went on ahead and just went for Windows. And look, I could give a whole bunch of reasons why, so I'm going to try. For one thing, Windows is just more compatible with the things that I want. Like I use stuff like Photoshop, I use Vegas and stuff like that. And also for the games that I want to play, like Fortnite or maybe even Grand Theft Auto Online, or just any future game that might be compatible, most of those times it's going to be more compatible with Windows, right? Like at the end of the day, I think if you're a content creator, I think you should definitely go for Windows because it's just more compatible and everything is just going to work, and you're going to have all the drivers and stuff and updates. And I didn't really want to go through that trouble with Linux. I had been using Linux for the past 7 months with my Steam Deck. Technically it is running like it's Steam OS, but it's technically a version of Arch Linux. And I had been honestly having a great time with it, although I was having a lot of trouble with like just getting stuff working, and certain things and drivers were just not working and all this other stuff. I didn't want to really deal with that, and also I wanted things just to be compatible, and I didn't want to really deal with that. I had my ways of managing Windows. Like I wasn't gonna just straight up install Windows and just have it just completely like track my data, or I wasn't gonna have it be so it was gonna give me constant notifications about ads and stuff like that. I didn't have that problem because I knew what to do in order to avoid that stuff. But for me personally, I went with Windows. Now, if you were gonna ask me again, if I was just going for gaming, or if I wasn't a content creator, I would honestly go for Linux. I actually love Linux. It's very awesome. It's very versatile. And I think it's great if you pair it with like AMD and stuff like that. But I believe that it's just still a little bit too much behind Windows right now for someone like me who wants the most up-to-date, most compatible, most reliable, and most versatile stuff. I just don't believe that Linux is just quite there yet. It is adopting some more people in terms of the market share for it when it comes to like OSs and stuff like that. And with Steam OS, I think it'll probably be better for now, like nowadays. But I believe that honestly, it just wasn't good enough for me at this time. So I went with Windows 11 and just called it a day. But my God, I was honestly regretting my decision after just trying to install freaking Windows. I had started building this thing at like 7 p.m. and I had gotten to build the entire thing. I actually got to turn on about like 3. But getting Windows was a completely different freaking story. I don't want to get into it too much, but you can't really natively just download because first of all, in order to get Windows 11, you have to download it onto a drive to actually plug it into your PC and then actually boot Windows off of that drive. I was trying to do that with my freaking Steam Deck. It wasn't working. I was trying to do it with the Mac. It wasn't working. In order to get that stuff actually working, you have to install and do all this crazy stuff with the Mac. The Mac stuff that I was trying to actually install Windows onto the drive with, it wasn't working. It was out of date. Like I said, the Mac itself is just out of date. So it wasn't working with a lot of stuff that I was actually trying to use to get Windows onto the drive. It was freaking crazy. And then for some reason with Linux, for like the Steam Deck, I don't know what it is, but it won't allow me to do and download like certain things. I was trying to basically force it to give me permission so I could like download certain things, but it wasn't freaking working. And that's another reason why I wasn't really keen on staying with Linux. But yeah, it wasn't letting me do certain things with it. Now, this isn't really Linux's fault. It's not even really Apple's fault. It's just Windows's fault. Why can't I just download a freaking bootable ISO onto the freaking drive just like that? Why do I have to do all this stuff where I have to like customize and all this stuff and Windows has to install it on my freaking drive for me? This infuriated me, and it's great that I'm remembering the anger that I had with it, but still I hated this because like I said, I built it at 3, and then for the next 4 hours I was trying to get Windows onto my computer and I just couldn't do it. So I decided to say, you know what, maybe I'm just tired, because I had been up literally all night that night. So I decided to go to sleep to get myself some rest. I only went to sleep for like 2 hours because I was too excited at that point. But I actually went on ahead and I had to go and use a very old like 2015 Windows laptop, which is crazy because the Mac laptop that is from 2015 too is nowhere near as slow as the one from 2015 that from Windows. But again, this was not my computer and all that stuff, so maybe there's some stuff going on there. But at the same time, the computer was god-awfully sluggish. Like, it was super slow. I'm telling you guys, it took me like 2 minutes just to open freaking Google Chrome. It was ridiculously slow. I could not deal with it, and I had to, though, just to build this thing, just to get this thing on there, because if I couldn't install Linux on this freaking drive, I had really no way of getting it on there unless I like went to like a store and then I did it that way. But I don't even know if they would have even let me do that, even if I even tried to sneak into it. But the point is that I had to use an old Windows laptop to do it, and it took forever. In fact, at one point, the installation to the drive actually failed. I actually did get to download it, and then you have to like run like an installer onto the drive on the computer, and then it like installs Windows onto the drive so that you can boot into it. But it actually failed at one point. And luckily though, I'd started it over again and it actually worked. So that was good. And then I plugged in the drive to the freaking computer. I booted it into the BIOS, and then I booted Windows from there. And then I set up Windows and all that stuff and la-di-la-la-la-la. Now, what was really, really stupid though, as I will say about Windows, is the fact that you can't make a local account without making a freaking stupid, like they actually made it harder to make a local account on Windows. That's how really bad Windows really is. Like seriously, I hate, like Windows is cozy. Windows is familiar, honestly. I actually like Windows a lot. But the practices that they have, what Microsoft does, really is just, it infuriates me to no end. I cannot stand Microsoft when it comes to what the stuff they do. So like I said, I debloated Windows, I disabled a whole bunch of telemetry, I made a local account, I basically did everything I could just to fuck Windows over. I just did not want Windows to have all of that stuff that they wanted to have over me. So that took a little bit, but I eventually got all of my files back. Although I did have a problem. For the last couple of days, well, for the first couple of days of having my PC, I actually had my PC open. I just had the case open, really. And I had it open because one of my drives, my 1 terabyte SSD, wasn't working for some reason. Now, I had problems with this drive before because at one point, this drive, actually on my last computer, started to be on the fritz. For some reason, I would boot up my computer and the drive just wouldn't exist. I would open up, and this probably actually is the reason why my computer's like A key stopped working, compounded with the fact that I probably like ate too much near my computer a lot of the time. But every time that drive used to do that, I used to have to go inside of my computer to reseat that SSD. And so when I would do that, it would either work or it wouldn't work. So I would restart my computer, reset the cable, all this other stuff, and it wouldn't work. And it would eventually come back, but it was doing that to this computer too. So I know it wasn't the computer. I know it was just the SSD. Eventually, the SSD just straight up stopped being recognizable. At one point, I did boot up Windows, and then I actually looked at the drive and I saw all my old stuff in it, which is really good. I didn't lose any of the thing on my other computer. The only thing on that drive was like my old like games. Like it was just games. It wasn't like videos or anything like that, because that's another drive I have all that stuff on. All my stuff, it was not on there, but it was just games, so I didn't have to worry about that. So eventually though, it stopped working, and I basically had to say to myself, okay, what am I gonna do at this point? This drive, like I was trying to get it like recovery software, or I tried to get like everything working for it again. It just wasn't working. Nothing was happening. And I was trying to reseat it, and I was going into my PC, I was reseating it every single time. I didn't want to touch my PC any more than I actually had to, as wrong as that sounds. But like, I was trying so hard to freaking just get this thing to work again, because I thought it was really integral. But eventually, I couldn't really get it to work. I seriously don't know what's up with this SSD. Again, it had been doing this on my last laptop. It was doing it now. So at this point, I was down a terabyte of SSD. So unfortunately, I don't have 7.5 terabytes. I only have 6.5. Oh no. But yeah, I don't have that much storage anymore. I only have 6.5 terabytes. I'm probably going to go on ahead and maybe invest in some later time, just like another 2 terabyte drive. Again, I love data hoarding. Well, not crazy, but like I just like having like a lot of games on my computer, right? I just like installing a lot of stuff. Not like too much. Like there's a lot of games I actually install for this video, but I probably will like uninstall like a lot of them. But the point is like I just like having a lot of storage. I don't like it when my phone or like my camera or my computer even tells me that I'm running out of storage. It's stupid, and I don't like it when things like slow down because of that. So I wanted to again have my cake and eat it too. Again, like I said, this is the main point of this build. Like me having this computer, I just wanted to have my cake and eat it too. I mean, a computer where I can play games, make videos, do 3D modeling, do work, all of that. I could do all of that on this computer, and I had finally built it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the KamStation.
Play this record as frequently as possible.
But I know what you guys are finally looking for at this point. You're probably thinking about all those amazing benchmarks and the everything that I had going on with this thing. Well, let's get into that, shall we? All right, we got a good couple of games to actually test today. And the first game that we're actually going to be testing is Marvel Rivals. For those who don't know, I have about 600 hours with this game, 650 and counting now. I love this game. I play it like all the time, although lately I've actually been playing it a little bit less, but that's neither here nor there. This is Marvel Rivals. This is the actual like performance testing that they actually have in the game. Also, apologies for my voice, but I'm still like I have a sickness right now, so my voice might actually start sounding a little bit raspy. But yeah, honestly, this game honestly runs amazing. I was kind of a little bit let down because honestly, of course, I'm going to tell you guys that the game is actually running on the ultra settings right now with the quality preset. And honestly, it's okay. Like, it's not the most craziest, like awesomest, like graphics or FPS that you can actually get or anything. But honestly, it's okay. I think Marvel Rivals does lend itself well to this. Obviously, because for some reason it is an Unreal Engine 5 game, but it also does have some good optimization. Honestly, it's actually one of the only Unreal Engine 5 games that I would say that has some good optimization. But yeah, honestly, that's still not really saying much because it's still Unreal Engine 5. But at the same time, Marvel Rivals is a competitive game. I can run like 200 FPS, 300, but that depends on me actually, you know, lowering my settings. Then we have Stellar Blade, which I'm going to be honest here, I think is probably the reason why I really wanted to build a PC, because honestly, I was going to get this game on the PlayStation 5, but I ended up never getting a PlayStation 5. And honestly, when I saw that this game was actually coming to the PC, I was really excited. Honestly, I just said to myself, I didn't really need a PlayStation 5 at all. Like, that was literally the only reason why I was going to buy one. But now that this game is actually on PC, I was really excited and I wanted to play it. And I'm really actually impressed with the amount of optimization that they actually put into this game. Because really, this game runs amazing no matter what system you're on, especially on a 5070 Ti. This game runs amazing. Like, I'm not even going to be honest. Like, I really want to test this game on my Steam Deck. And I'm not really expecting any, like, diminishing returns. I'm actually really looking forward to how it runs on there. But for this 5070 Ti and my build in general just completely smashes this game in, like, little itty-bitty pieces. Like, seriously, this is an amazing running game, and it looks amazing, too. I'm really, really glad that I actually got this anyway. Then we have, basically, Monster Hunter World. Now, you guys might be wondering, why are you playing Monster Hunter World? I mean, this is an older game. Like, this is not really that much new. Like, what are you doing? And you have to remind yourself, guys, that I am a gamer. So I don't really just exclusively play, like, the newest stuff. And I thought this would be fun, considering the fact that I didn't really feel like buying Monster Hunter Wilds. Considering the fact that game is a lot of just desert anyway, and I don't really care for, like, the desert setting. Who knows if I could be wrong or right in that respect. But Monster Hunter World actually runs pretty well. I mean, of course, it's an older game, so of course it is. But I'm still actually really impressed by the visuals of this game and also the density of the world with all the objects and the people in it. It's really an amazingly, amazing pushing, game in terms of the graphics that it had at the time. I think this game was released in, 2017, 2018, something like that. And I'm not really sure about it on PC, but this game still manages to look amazing. And that's actually one thing about a lot of these games that I will be testing in this video, is because a lot of the games that have been released in, the past, even 10 years, they still look amazing. Like, back in the day, we could say that games released 10 years ago looked vastly inferior to games released at that point in time 10 years ago. But nowadays, these games look next to no, there's really no difference with this. And also, of course, here's Street Fighter 6. Unfortunately, this is a game where I couldn't actually make it go above 60 FPS, so it's going to be locked to that, which is great. At least there's no, dips or anything. But I was really looking forward to, having this game run at, 240 FPS, or at least 120 or something. But this game runs amazing as well. But yeah, like I was saying, the games nowadays, they're not really pushing the edges of graphics nowadays, because a lot of the time nowadays, graphics basically look like real life, and there really is no crazy, there's no crazy, graphical advantages that we have now. There's no real innovation anymore, because now everything basically looks like real life. And this is the reason why I appreciate games more like Street Fighter, 6 or Marvel Rivals or a couple of other games that will come up on this list. Because these games don't just try to look realistic. They kind of try to look their thing of just trying to look like they're, video games or whatever, with a distinct art style and nice little visuals, like with the water. I mean, look at the cloth on Juri's pajama outfit. Like, look at those thighs that Chun-Li has. Of course, we're all looking at that, but that's not the point. The point of the matter is, I look at those types of graphics myself. But I will say, with this game, this is Batman Arkham Knight, I will say, this is like the game, I will say, that we kind of peaked in terms of graphics. There's another game on this list where I will kind of talk about probably where we also peaked recently. But this game still to this day looks amazing. Like on the PlayStation 4, the PC, the X, wherever you play this game at, this game looks amazing. The lighting effects, the raining effects, the reflections and all that stuff. I still think this is where we honestly peaked in terms of video game graphics. Say what you will about this game and what Rocksteady did to Batman and all that stuff, because honestly I have a whole bunch of opinions on that. God, freaking Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. That was such a terrible, terrible game. But yeah, honestly, this game is looking so amazing. Like I mean, of course, in this game, I couldn't actually, again, raise it above like 90 FPS. It was kind of just stagnating at just 90 for some reason. So I couldn't make it go anything above that, but I still think it looks amazing. Also, of course, the load on my GPU isn't really that high. But even then, with all the problems that the PC version of this game actually has, unfortunately, I still think this is honestly where graphics peaked, and nothing really came close to this until very recently, at least for me. Then also we have Kingdom Hearts 3, which honestly is, of course, I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, so I had to test this game out. And this is just Kingdom Hearts 3. Of course, you can run this game on lower-ended graphics cards, and it would be probably somewhere around the same amount of FPS and stuff like that. But I still love this game, and I thought it looked great. The weird thing about this game in particular, though, unfortunately, is I could actually have it be above 140 FPS, 144, and I actually did configure the graphics settings to have it be so that the FPS was unlocked. But for some reason, it was commonly getting stuck at 80 FPS, according to at the Afterburner or whatever, the MSI Afterburner, the tool that I'm using to actually do all of this testing and benchmarking and stuff. It was actually getting stuck on that. Sometimes it would go to like 120 if I would to like exit out the menu and then set it to 120, and then sometimes it wouldn't, and it was just really weird. I don't understand. Of course, this is just like another instance of a Japanese development studio just not optimizing a PC game as well as they probably could have, but I still think it looks amazing, honestly. And also, speaking of Japanese development studios, we also have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, a game that I do not think is dead, and I still love it just because of the fact that we finally got Raging Blast 3. I love this game. I played it so much when it first came out. I made a little skit about it, and I love this game to death. I honestly should have made a review on it, but maybe I'll get to that someday or whatever. But yeah, I love this game, and also this game looks amazing as well. Unfortunately, it's another one of those games where I couldn't actually, change the FPS to go above like 60 FPS, but that's actually kind of a little bit less. That's actually really a downside about this, because unlike something like Batman Arkham Knight or Street Fighter 6, this game is really, really fast, and having it go above 60 FPS would have been really, like, it would have made it look really, really nice. But unfortunately, it doesn't go above 60 FPS at all. So unfortunately, we're just gonna have to deal with this, unfortunately. But I still think this game is amazing. I do not think it's dead. A lot of people like to say that this game is like just dead on arrival because they stopped supporting it after like a year. I still think they actually had something recently coming out with the game, but I think people just trip and just make the biggest deal over nothing. Like, this is honestly the Raging Blast 3 I've always wanted, and yeah, I still love them. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. Also, we have a Hat in Time, one of my favorite 3D platformers. Also, happy holidays. It's the end of the year. Happy New Year's, guys. I just wanted to show this one because I kind of like the fact that if it's around the Christmas time, you'll see the actual like spaceship be decorated with like holiday stuff. But this is an Unreal Engine 3 game, actually just like Batman Arkham Knight, and this game looks so beautiful. This is exactly what I was talking about when I was talking about in terms of, you know, graphics, not just being super realistic and still looking amazing. This game has so much detail. Look at the water. Look at the freaking water here, man. It looks so amazing. And then the character models, and I love Hat Kid so much. He's so cute. And I love this game ever since like 2017, which, yeah, that's exactly when this game came out. This game came out 8 years ago, going on 9 next year. And my God, it's aged so freaking well, especially on the PC. And also here, of course, we have Half-Life 2, this is not the original Half-Life 2, but this is actually the RTX version. Now, unfortunately, this is apparently only a demo. I'm surprised. I thought when I looked on the Steam page, I thought it was already done already. But apparently it's not. I thought it was, but basically what this is basically Half-Life 2 running with, you know, ray tracing and all that stuff. And I think it looks great to an extent. I think that a lot of the models do come from like, it makes it look like, you know, Half-Life Alyx to me. But I think that's most of what it actually does. Besides like the fire effects, like what you see right here, looking amazingly juicy and crispy. I love that. But at the same time, I don't think it actually does enough to really make it look and stand out from like other like mods and stuff like that. But I was really surprised with Portal 2, or not Portal 2, but the Portal RTX mod, which is full, and you know, you don't have to, it's not like a demo or anything, like this is like the full thing. But this is honestly where I always have thought that this is where graphics peaked in Batman Arkham Knight. But this right here just blew me out of the freaking water here. Look at the lighting effects in this room. It looks absolutely superfluous. Like, this is crazy. I honestly, when I first got to this chamber, you know, test chamber 17, I was super taken aback by the amazingness of the graphics here. Look at the lighting. I feel like I'm actually standing here in real life, aside from this like weird shadow effect that you can actually see right here, which I don't know what that was about. I don't know why her like leg was like going crazy right there. But my God, this looks crazy. Like this game already looked amazing back in the day. I will say like Portal is an amazing game that still does hold up in terms of graphics. But my God, this right here just blew me away. This is honestly where I personally believe that graphics has actually finally peaked. This looks crazy. Like, I posted about this on Discord and I'm still amazed just by looking at the footage with you guys. And honestly, this is probably the best it actually has gotten. But here we have Expedition 33, which honestly I wasn't really expecting myself to play, but it was in my Steam family share library, so I was like, yeah, it won a whole bunch of awards, why not? And I honestly wasn't really too keen on playing this game. Just because of the fact that I heard, like, while I was actually really intrigued why it actually won like Game of the Year or whatever, I heard a lot of like controversy about it, so I didn't really want to go into it honestly that much. But honestly, I was really impressed by the graphics and how it was actually running. But this is probably an Unreal Engine 5 game because honestly, I don't think the graphics look that good for it to only run at like the maximum, which is like 60 FPS, or the maximum really is about 79, as you guys can see. But I didn't think it looked that good looking back at it, but I still did actually like my time with this game. For some reason, I wasn't really looking too keen on this game, but man, honestly, I thought this little combat tutorial section was actually pretty fun. So who knows, I might stream it sometime or whatever. But also, obviously now, we have one of my favorite games of all time, Spider-Man, or Marvel's Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4, which that was originally what it came out on, but now it's Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, which came out on PC about like 3 years ago. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, why didn't you play Spider-Man 2 or Miles Morales at least? And I'm just like, I don't really care about Spider-Man 2. I'm going to be honest. I don't really care too much about Miles Morales.
I did like Spider-Verse. I recently actually watched Across the Spider-Verse. Yes, I'm incredibly late, but I don't really care. Like I said, I don't really care about that movie. But honestly, I really like this game a lot. I think this game was honestly so perfect that everything I saw about Spider-Man 2, I was like, yeah, I don't really care about this. But needless to say, I still think this game looks amazing. And the graphical quality of this game still blows a lot of games out of the water. But honestly, this game in of itself, I still think it looks great. And honestly, at least this game was like a remaster, right? At least it wasn't like a full-on remake, like the Last of Us remake that came out like a year or so ago. I seriously do not understand what's going on with Sony right now. Why the heck did they have the need to actually find it so that they wanted to actually make like a remake of a freaking, I don't know, like a less than 10-year-old game or whatever? But yeah, I'm pretty sure like at that time it was like less than 10 years old, but whatever. I mean, if you want to spend your resources on that, go ahead. But at least Spider-Man Remastered at least is just like a good port and remasters visuals. But at least, well, not at least, now we have Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which is a game that I also did not have and I wasn't really that interested in because I heard all of the controversy and the negative press about the game and I was really deterred from playing it. This is a game that was really not that interesting, honestly, in terms of like its first release. I played it a little bit, had a maximum of 60 FPS or 62, and I was done with it. I don't think it's that bad of a game, but I'm not really gonna, focus on it for this video. We also have Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Unfortunately, it seems like the Tomb Raider Survivor series is kind of over. But I was really looking like my time with it, at least the first game, because I have never really completely played, Rise of the Tomb Raider or even this game. So I didn't really want to spoil myself by playing through this game too much. But I also was I was actually running into some weird problems with this game. For some reason, when playing this game, I couldn't hear the cutscene voices. So I can only hear Laura's like in-game voice dialogue and all that stuff, or not the dialogue. She just wasn't talking in like any like sentences or anything like that. Just all the dialogue that she was having and all the cutscene voices, they weren't working. So of course, I don't know what was going on with that, but the game still does look amazing, I will believe. It's crazy that this was actually considered like cutting edge. Like I remember a lot of games back in 2018. Yes, this game released 7 years ago. Jesus Christ! But back in 2018, there was a lot of like people on YouTube running this game and like benchmarking this game a lot. And of course, like this game like still has amazing graphics, and it's crazy to know that this game is not like this game isn't even like using the full power of my GPU right now. As you can see, the max frame rate I've had in this game is 514. 1% low has been like 140 47 FPS, and right now I'm getting like 200 something FPS right now. And it's crazy that we've moved this far away from this graphics. Then again, at this point, it's probably less that graphics have gotten substantially better and more so that probably just graphics have just, like a lot of game studios probably were thinking more about like optimization and stuff like that. But honestly, nowadays, they're not really thinking about that stuff like that. And like a lot of the time, these games were like being pushed with like raw horsepower. Nowadays, a lot of the games are like that are coming out nowadays are being pushed with like AI and like fake frames and stuff like that, which I'm not totally against. But seriously, this right here is still super, super impressive to this very day. And I'm really, really disappointed on why like game studios right now just haven't really come to like stuff like this. I think in terms of like peak graphics right now, I feel like this is up there with like Batman Arkham Knight and like the Portal RTX mod. I think that's pretty good. I'm not sure if this game is actually even using ray tracing. Of course, everything that I'm actually testing with this video is actually using like the highest settings, like the presets, and unlocking the FPS when I can. Also, for some reason in this game, the fire effects, as you guys can see, were just freaking out for some weird reason. I don't know what was going on here, but for some reason, the freaking fire effects were going crazy. I do not know why. Also, of course, we have Ultrakill. This is a game that kind of like surprised me, honestly. This game in particular, like, was gifted to me recently. I think on my birthday by my friend. I've yet to play it. I did play the other game that they actually gave me, but which was Victory Heat Rally. But that's neither here nor there. This game was recommended to me by my friends multiple different times to play over and over again, and I just kept procrastinating on it because you guys see how many freaking games are in this freaking video. But honestly, this game was really great. Honestly, of course, this game is demolished by my GPU, so it's really just like nothing crazy, honestly. Like, it's nothing crazy, but I still thought it was really worth to actually test. Of course, also with that mantra, we also have Team Fortress 2, which is a game that came out freaking 18 years ago, which now is going on to be 19 years old, actually coming next year, 2026. Crazy, but of course this game is demolished by my GPU, and of course it looks amazing. Not a lot of people take this game seriously anymore. I mean, it's Team Fortress 2, but like, god dang, of course we had these two spies that spawn on different teams just chilling. Yeah, and it was just, it's just crazy to see that people still do play this game a lot. I love this game. I don't really play it that much, and I don't really consider it like my favorite hero shooter. I think that'd probably go with like Marvel Rivals, honestly. But man, I used to love playing this game back in the day, and it's crazy that like I don't really see my friends playing this game anymore, and I still kind of would like to go back to those times sometime. But now, of course, we have Grand Theft Auto 5, which, of course, is another game that released back in 2015, along with, Batman Arkham Knight. So, of course, these games are like 10 years old now. Of course, of course, this game is actually older than like 10 years. But this particular port, which is the PC version, is like 10 years old. And this was very coveted for a long time. Of course, it actually runs amazing on my PC. No real stutters or anything. I did run online just to see, like, I thought that online would give it more, like, I don't know. I thought it would, like, really push it to a certain limit or whatever, but it really didn't. And, of course, as you can see, my GPU usage is only at, like, 30%, Jesus Christ, and it's, like, 47 degrees Celsius. This thing is just chilling. It's not even really going crazy. It doesn't feel like running GTA 5. My CPU is freaking, oh my god. Like, I think it might be more CPU intensive or something, but at the same time, it's only using like 19% of it, so I don't know. And also, I just wanted to crash that plane because I'm crazy like that. But yeah, honestly, GTA 5 runs unexpectedly amazing. Now, Fortnite. Now, this is a game I was really looking forward to. This is a really well optimized game. Of course, I'm running this at the epic setting, of course, with the FPS on unlimited. But this game is amazing. And again, once again, I gotta beat a dead horse here, but this is another game where I gotta say, this is like where graphics matter more in terms of art style rather than just making it look realistic. I think, say what you will about Fortnite, but I think Fortnite is one of the best looking games like ever right now. I think it's an amazing looking game with the art style and the cartoonish aesthetic, and honestly some of the lighting effects in this game are just absolutely amazing. I don't think it can actually be overstated on like how great this game looks. Surprisingly though, of course, like you can see, I'm not getting like crazy FPS. It's really well optimized, I will admit here. I think it is now running on Unreal Engine 5, unfortunately. I don't know how they just completely ported this game to a whole different engine, but they did. Of course, with this game, it's better to run it maybe at like high settings or with performance mode, I guess, if you're trying to be competitive. But for what it is, I think this game runs amazing. I still wish I kind of played this game more, though. I actually kind of like fell off this game, unfortunately, over time. Speaking of falling off, well, not really falling off, but I haven't played this game in a long time here. Devil May Cry 5, released in 2019. This is still an amazing looking game, art style aplenty, but I haven't played this game in like so long. Like, I haven't played this game since like 2021. Needless to say, though, I get some amazing FPS here. Of course, the GPU is staying nice and just content with what's going on here. It is being used a little bit more, I will admit, like surprisingly, but honestly, nothing crazy. But Devil May Cry, man, I gotta get back into this game. And also, I apologize for this gameplay. All of my gameplay in this video, actually, I kind of suck because I haven't really been playing Devil May Cry in general in a little bit. But other games like Fortnite and Street Fighter, yeah, that still applies too. Also, we have Once Human. Now, I don't know if anyone really plays this game anymore like that, though, because I played this game a couple of months ago with my friends on my Steam Deck, and we were just having something, we just wanted to play something, like, new. And we played that game, we played this game once, and then we never played it again. Once again, we're having one of those kinds of games where we just, like, play it a little bit, and then we just never do. But this game, honestly, I think there's something here. Of course, it's made by NetEase. It's a live service game, once again. And, man, I got to say, I'm really tired of live service games in general. But, man, I got to say, I think there's something is here to this game. I'm not sure if anyone really, like, actually sees this comparison. But I kind of think it's like DayZ, even though I don't think there's any zombies in this game. But if anyone actually thinks that as well, then let me know. But I think this game probably has some good snuff to it. Of course, it does make my freaking GPU like go insane. Like for some reason, that game really made my GPU or my computer be super loud. Like my fans were like on high. But a game that didn't quite do that was actually Where It Wins Me, which is not a great game. I'm not really too sure if it's great yet. I think it's pretty good from what I played. I haven't played too much of it, but Where It Wins Me is another free live service game. But this game also kind of, has a little bit more promise to it, though. I didn't play too much of it, honestly. I'm still kind of waiting for my friends and us to play it, but I don't know. I might play it just on my own eventually if I have the time, because I'm playing too many things right now. But I think this game also does look amazing. Another Chinese development game, and gotta say, a lot of Chinese developers coming out nowadays, isn't it? But yeah, I think this game looks amazing. Doesn't stress out my computer like freaking Once Human, so I think it looks pretty great. Also, we have a game that I reviewed about a year ago, almost 2 years ago, God. Zenless Zone Zero. Of course, this game actually does run amazing on my computer. Nothing too crazy. I don't think it goes above a certain amount of FPS, though. Of course, the max is like 241, but I think that's like when you're in the menus. It should be stated that if you're seeing some crazy FPS, like 1,000, like 500, it's probably because I was in the menus, or it's like an older game or something like that, because that's just how like these things work. But this game runs like amazing regardless. Of course, like my average is like, what is it, like 171, getting like 130 right now. I saw it like go to like 170 at one point, of course. But this game runs amazing just in general. So I wasn't really too like worried about this game like running well at all. I was actually really excited to see how it actually ran on my computer for some reason. I don't know why, but like the idea of these powerful GPUs running these lesser not as powerful to run games is really tantalizing. Like I played this game at full, on my last computer before it died. So it's really nice to see that. And then here is Genshin. Now, unfortunately, this is a game that could not go above 60 FPS, which is a crime to me. Like, I thought that this game, which released back in 2020, of course, crazy. My God, this game is like 5 years old. Like, Jesus. But this game, unfortunately, does not go above 60 FPS. I still think Genshin is an amazing looking game, despite like my now problems with it, which I hope I can make a Genshin video soon, because I have definitely thought about like my experiences with Genshin. I definitely have had my time with Genshin and all that stuff, but honestly, I think Genshin at this point, it needs some like graphical improvements or something like that. I definitely think this game is it's way more capable than whatever is going on here. I really think that they should update this game to have higher FPS and all the other stuff. But it does run amazing despite my growing problems with this game over time. Finally, the last game I wanted to test, which is actually kind of like poetic, is Sonic Generations. This was the game that kind of made me aware of PC gaming and how honestly advanced it was in general, like I was saying earlier in this video. It's also kind of poetic that my voice is actually kind of back now, but it's probably going to be gone in a couple seconds. Anyway, yeah, so this game runs amazing. I was actually running a code with this game to make it actually go past 60 FPS because naturally it doesn't. And I know, like, yeah, I was like, nah, I'm not gonna use anything that's not in the game that pushes the FPS or whatever. But nah, I'm gonna break the rules. But honestly, this makes the game run kind of weird. So I wouldn't say to run this with a 160 FPS because for some reason some things like the tricks are really broken. Although I do have like a fast trick kind of a skill kind of mod that I actually have. But also we have Honey, the cat. You know, I'm playing with of course, because she's my Lord and Savior. Also, I didn't actually mention, of course, I'm actually running some of these games with like mods and stuff, like Spider-Man with like Gwen Stacy and stuff like that. And this game, of course, where I'm playing as Honey. But yeah, I just want to say, like, all of these games run amazing. And like I said, this game, this wasn't supposed to just be me playing the most, awesomest, highest, like the most newest games. Like, this was supposed to be me playing all of these older games, all the games I actually want to play, not because I'm addicted to like Call of Duty or Valorant or something like that. All these boring games everybody plays. I wanted to showcase games that I actually play, and I actually planned on actually playing on my PC, because that's what this build is all about. It's about what I want. But yes, guys, that is it. That is my first PC build, and she is absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love this thing. I am super surprised on how great this thing turned out. I really thought I was going to blow something up. I didn't think it was going to be this awesome. And yeah, there was times where I didn't really trust myself with building this thing, especially considering how the last PC died and all this other stuff and all the stress and everything I had going on. But it all came to be that, there was a hand or something guiding me, and everything just worked out perfectly. And I couldn't be any more proud of myself. Like, I know some people are saying that they're proud of me for doing this, and I really do appreciate that. I do. But I really am just really proud of myself for actually going through this. Like, I said to myself, I'm going to build this thing finally. And I actually did it. And now 11-year-old me, which is just me, because, like, another thing I've realized about myself is that personally, while I see everyone around me change, I never really changed. Like, I never really wanted to stop running or making videos or like even building this computer. I always wanted the same things. I had the same ideology, I had the same mindset, and that definitely was true for me. So 11-year-old me is happy right now because I am happy right now. And I mean, it doesn't get any more poetic than that, honestly. So yeah, I had finally built my brand new freaking PC, and I hope this thing will serve me for years to come, and I'm really gonna love the performance and everything that I get from this thing. But I just want to say to myself, thank you, man. You really did what you actually were supposed to do. You wanted to do this, and you went on ahead and did it. You built a PC that is legitimately freaking powerful. Like, seriously, this does actually deserve the title of KamStation. This is like one of the best pieces of technology I've ever seen in my life, and you built it. And it's crazy that you even did that. No one told you to do this. No one asked you. No one expected you even, probably, but you did it in general. You did it anyway. And that's why I was really proud of you, man. That's why I know that you're going to do amazing things. Now, for the people who are actually watching this video, I just want to say, like, that's basically just my experience with building a PC. And I believe that if you do want to build a PC, then go on ahead and do it. It's not that hard. You just have to be very diligent. Like, don't just go into this and just slap a couple of things together and don't really do your research. No, do your research about it. Figure out the benefits. Figure out, maybe it's not even for everyone. Like, it's really not. Like I did it at the same time, but like, you don't have to do this. Like, you might just be fine with a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X or a Nintendo Switch 2, or you might just be fine with a pre-build. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with having like a pre-build or anything like that, but as long as you can do what you want to do and what you love and stuff like that, it really doesn't matter how you do it.
I'm just saying that if you want to build a PC, I definitely encourage it. You do not have to be the smartest guy in the world, you know, and you don't have to be the most carefulest guy in the world. I definitely am not. But you do have to be into this. Like, don't just go into this willy-nilly and think that you're just going to get results just from saying that you want to do it. You have to put in the effort. You have to put in the want. You got to want to build a PC, man. You just got to. You got to dream about it. And this was definitely the dream PC build. And that's why it probably came out so good. So, and honestly, I just want to thank God, you know, thank y'all for helping me build this thing. I really think that, again, like a lot of the parts and stuff that I got were like by chance, because like seriously, I could have bought the GPU at like a much higher price. Like I could have bought it at like $800. I could have bought it the RAM at like $400, but everything that I seemed to get was at either the lowest price or the best possible time. And I built this PC at the best possible time. I freaking bought the parts at the best possible time. I assembled it in the best possible place. And I don't know. I'm just saying, guys. I had a little bit of help with this one. I know it was me who did this, but I had a little bit of help with this one. But yes, guys, with that being said, that's really the reason why videos have been slower. I am going to come back to streaming, actually, on my second channel, VigiCam, and also my Twitch channel at the same time. And I'm also going to come back to also just making videos and stuff like that. And I just want to do a whole lot more experimenting, and I just really want to get back to like making videos and getting back to the normal stuff, which, like I said, like again, that's the reason why videos and stuff have been kind of paused for a little bit, and I've just been kind of like adjusting. Of course, like when I built this PC, I also wanted to get like everything like situated in my files, get some new stuff, throw out some old stuff, get some new titles and like banners and all that stuff. I wanted to do a whole bunch of stuff. So, you know, I hope that worth the wait. I hope the wait was worth it. But now it's time to get back to business, back to the fun, back to the cam, and back to it in general. I don't know. I was trying to say something there. But yeah, guys, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Will you guys build your own PC? Well, let me know in the comment section down below if you thought it was worth it. And also, what do you think of my build? If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or maybe I did something wrong, or if you guys think that maybe this isn't the best thing, or maybe I actually overlooked something, then put it in the comment section down below. I would really appreciate you guys for doing that. And if you actually also did make it this far into the video, because I know this video is kind of long, then put it in the comment section down below, hashtag KamStation, just to let me know like who actually made it to the end of the video and stuff like that. I would actually really want to know who actually did sit to the end of this really long video and very important video that I personally believe it is, and I decided to make. But yeah, guys, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, subscribe if you want to see more. All my social media will be linked in the description down below. And if you didn't like this video, then tell me in the comment section down below why you hated it. But with that being said, guys, thank y'all for watching. Have a good night or day whenever you're watching this. And as always, Johnny.